Good evening, Rockdale County. Welcome to This Week from Rockdale, and I'm your host, Larry Cox. It's glad to have everyone here this evening, and I will start recognizing my guest, Megan Walker. Good evening. Glad to have you here. William Campbell. Great to see you tonight, Bill. Lisa Lancaster. Uh, nice to have you here, Lisa. Dan Burks. Good evening, Dan Burks. Mary Boysworth. Great to have you here, Mary. Charlotte Gellert. Charlotte, as usual, great to have you here tonight. Voices for Rockdale. Corliss Turner is joining us. It's great to see you here, Corliss. On the Rockdale Voter Group, our page, Rockdale Voter, we started some little sign up for some people to go protest Tuesday, about the tax increases at the EOC meeting. And we've already had 12 people to sign up to go protest. That's pretty good numbers. It's been up less than 24 hours. And basically, I think today is when it went up. And you've got 12 volunteers that are already willing to go over there and make some homemade signs and protests. Danielle Munoz, how are you doing tonight? Danny, great to see you here, as always, from the land up north, the North Land. So, it's good to have all my friends here tonight. We're going to, we're going to talk about some serious stuff tonight. We're going to talk about senior citizens. We're going to talk about taxes. We're going to talk about poverty levels. We're going to talk about, senior citizens downsizing and what that actually means. We're going to have some interesting conversations here tonight. They're going to be eye-opening, and they're going to be enlightening, and they're going to be truthful, because we're going to talk about some things here that aren't talked about a lot. And just people just ignore the facts, sugarcoat stuff, and we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're going to talk about how it is and the facts of life for senior citizens and the realities that they face once they retire, and what that means. So I've said it, my hellos to everybody. Anybody else that joins, welcome. Come and join. Guys, I think if you guys would share and like the show right now, I think that'll help grow the audience. Corliss just thanked me for speaking at the first meeting. She said I set the people on fire. I did get a little fired up there toward the end and everything. And sometimes I get emotional about these things because I think, I don't really believe a lot of people know how many hours that I put into the research and to the working behind the scenes, getting these things even to be possibly heard by state legislators, and to get things put before the legislature. It's quite a daunting task, and for some people that would be intimidated. I'm not intimidated about the process because I firmly believe government is nothing more than an extension of our voice. If we're quiet, then our voices are quieted, and we don't have a say. But if we're consistent, if we are just tenacious and we demand a voice in this, then we will prevail in these fights. And it takes people like Corliss that started the Voices for Rockdale. And when you've got organizations like Corliss that work hand in hand with an organization like the Rockdale Voter, then there's where we're going to be able to make things happen, because through the Rockdale Voter organization and then through the Voices for Rockdale, we're able to reach more people. And by reaching more people, we're able to make more people aware of what's going on in Rockdale County and our community. And that's what it's about. It's about a community awareness. It's about what's going on in our community and what our voices can do to affect positive change in our communities. And that's what I'm totally about. I'm totally about positive change in our community. Let's start off by talking about a little bit about that meeting we had this past Thursday. It was a very informative meeting. I spoke about the need for a forensic audit here in Rockdale County, and I spoke about why we needed it, about some irregular spending habits of the county, about some boards that should exist that don't exist, and with those boards not existing, like the Rockdale Sewer and Water Authority, the county themselves have put themselves as an oversight of themselves, and it's never good for government to be in charge of being their own oversight. That's putting the fox in the hen house and having him be the security guard inside the pen. That's not going to work out way for the hens. The hens are going to get taken advantage of, and they're going to get eaten alive. And that's actually what happens to the citizens of any municipality or county if the government officials themselves are their own watchdogs. They are their own oversight. They won't do a very good job at it, and they tend to look the other way very often at their own deeds. So, but we were able to speak at the Voices of Rockdale. We were able to enlighten and share a lot of things that go on in the county that people aren't aware of. And then, we had 65 plus people at that meeting. And anytime you get that kind of a crowd in a room, that spreads throughout the community what's going on. So just glad we were able to do that. George Kilichek actually spoke, and he spoke about the condition of the water reservoir in Rockdale County, spoke that the Army Corps of Engineers will be sending specialists in to look at this situation because it's not good. Co-founder of the Rockdale Voter Group, Ken Holmes, had went to one of these economic development summits that the chairman and the other commissioners participating in at times. And the chairman assured everyone there's nothing wrong with the water system, that we had water readily available for decades to come. Well, I'll tell you what, if you look at a picture or a photo of what the dam looks like, what the reservoir, what those streams that feed in to that reservoir looks like now, and what they used at one time, what they look like, we have a serious problem that is already here in Rockdale County. Not a serious problem that is developing. This problem has developed over 20 years, and it developed because of the county and the city is guilty of this too. Doing away with oversight. It was Charlotte. It was funny. One lady said she didn't know anything about the splish, the splash, or the splosh, or whatever you call it, and that was true. I mean, and we, but we're doing our best to educate citizens of what's going on. And in that room, what I'm going to talk about tonight is senior citizens and how these tax increases impact these seniors. It's very interesting. So there were a lot of senior citizens in the room the other night, and these taxes, I think, impact senior citizens on a heavier percentile than they do most of the other citizens of the county. So Rockdale Voter, as I mentioned at the meeting the other night, and this petition has gone live. Like, again, share the show and like the show, because this is a very important show. We're going to talk about the Rockdale County Senior Homestead Exemption Act tonight. We're going to talk about a couple of other things that will be able to help the citizens of Rockdale County with some tax relief here in the next year, that the Rockdale Voter partnered with the Voices for Rockdale and several other organizations. We are going to work very hard to protect ourselves against our own government. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to be protecting ourselves and defending ourselves against our own government. So let's begin. The Rockdale Voter we started our newest petition, and that petition is a petition that is going to ask the local delegation to introduce a piece of legislation called the Rockdale County Senior Citizen Homestead Exemption Act. And I'm going to bring up online. I'm going to share with you. This is the Rockdale Voter website. It is therockdalevoter.com. And if you go to therockdalevoter.com and then you go here and you click petitions, and you'll see here senior homestead exemption. Click on the senior homestead exemption. And you will see the senior homestead, and you'll be able to fill out your name, your first name, last name, email address, phone number, address, city, state, and zip code. Send the email. And by doing that, you are sending this request. Following petition, you will send under the signature of the. It will be sent under the signature of the to the Rockdale legislative delegation, and the petition states: as a citizen of Rockdale County, I am requesting the local legislative delegation that represents Rockdale County in the Georgia legislature introduce an act entitled the Rockdale Senior Citizen Homestead Exemption Act. This legislation would at age 65 begin to reduce property tax obligation by reducing 1% each year until the tax obligation would be 0% at age 70. We request that these reductions would be for all property tax levied by the county government, city government, and the Board of Education. We further request that this be placed on the ballot in a special election for the citizens of Rockdale County to approve or deny. This legislation will assure that senior citizens will not be taxed out of home ownership and able to maintain independent living. As a citizen of Rockdale County, your consideration with this matter is greatly appreciated. Then you can scroll down in this and we'll have the justification for the exemption for the Homestead Act. And you'll see the federal poverty levels, which are ridiculous. It's $10,000 a year, which would be $4.80 an hour for a 5-day, 8-hour workday, which is 66% of the current minimum wage. The federal poverty guideline in 2022 is for a household of one, it's $13,590. For a household of two, it's $18,310. And for a household of three, it's $23,030. An income, okay, this is just crazy. And then you look at Rockdale County seniors, 15.4% make up the amount of senior citizens in Rockdale County. And this is the thing about it, of that 15.4, and I'm going to click off this for a little bit, not all of the 15.4 own homes. Not all of the 15.4 own homes. So we'll have to do some additional research to see of the 15.4% of senior citizens over 65, how many of them actually own homes. So that number is going to go down. So it won't be 15% of seniors who actually get this exemption because not all senior citizens own homes. Then when we look at Rockdale County has a poverty level of 12.7%. I would wager to bet that the majority of the individuals who live in the poverty level in Rockdale County, the biggest portion belong to that 15.4% of senior citizens. So I've got to give you some numbers here of what the average retirement income is nationally, and what the median income is here in Rockdale County. In Rockdale County, the median income for everyone, an individual median household income, an individual who lives by himself, is $31,986. A household income in Rockdale County, the median household income, and this is workers and everything, it's $62,505. And I'm going to tell you, someone making $32,000 bucks a year, and they've got a $3,000 or $4,000 at the end of the year tax bill. I don't know how they're going to, I mean, with everything that the way things cost, I don't know how this individual is going to pay a $3,000 tax bill. Really don't know how they're going to do it. I really don't know how the people making the 62,000, if that's got a couple of adults and 2 or 3 kids in there, they're going to scrape and skimp to try to pay that tax bill also. So let's talk about what the average retiree makes a year. So a couple that is retired make right around that, and an individual who is retired makes right around that 31,000. And a couple that's retired, no, my bad. A married couple that retires makes right at $32,000, a little over $32,000 a year is the average income for a married couple in the United States. And that would be Georgia also. A married couple, the average income is $32,868. We just see that the average income for a single person in Rockdale County is right at $32,000. So a retired couple will make $32,868 a year. A retired single individual, average income of a retired single individual is $19,884, under $20,000 a year. Now let me ask you, how is someone on this type of fixed income, a senior citizen, paying, let's just say when they were working, they had a nice home, they've got a $3,000 or $4,000 a year tax bill. How are they paying that? They're not. I mean, and that's why when we talk about senior citizens downsizing, senior citizens don't downsize because they don't like that larger house or the house that they raise their families in. They downsize because they can't afford the property taxes any longer. A lot of them are forced into renting things then they can't afford. They're forced into losing independent living and, moving in with people, or just struggling to have a place to live month to month. People, what we are doing to senior citizens as a society is shameful. What local and city governments are doing to senior citizens is disrespectful. To me, it verges on criminal activities and elder abuse. This past legislative session, the city of College Park was petitioned to introduce legislation on behalf of seniors to give them a homestead exemption. The local delegation that represents College Park passed that local legislation to give these individuals these seniors a homestead exemption. The governor signed the Homestead Exemption Act into law. That initiative is supposed to go on the ballot in College Park this November. Well, the city of College Park and the mayor decided that they didn't like how the legislation was written, so they're going to ask them to rewrite it in January, ignore the law, and refuse state law and put that legislation on the ballot. Now, we've talked about this. We've talked about these municipalities and county governments refusing to obey the law because you have to sue them to make them obey. And someone is suing them in this circumstance. And I would say they will be made to put that on the ballot. In a College Park's budget, this is just a little over $1 million of their budget that this would impact with these seniors getting this exemption. But I'm just telling you right now, when we pass this, it's not if, but when we pass this, you can look at these 3 entities bucking back and trying to possibly do the same thing. That's why, it's important for this to go the way it is, the legislature pass it, and, talking with the legislature, if we think there's going to be an issue with it getting on the ballot like it's supposed to, then we may actually ask them to pass it outright. We'll see what happens with this. I mean, because this just happened this week. with this College Park thing, and this may change the approach that we want to take with this. I mean, but just look at these income things. The average income for an individual that's working, I mean, working in Rockdale County is $31,000, 32,000, right at 32. A retired couple is 32,000. A retired individual is under $20,000. And they are asking these individuals to pay these ridiculous property taxes. It's crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And this is why it's going to take every single one of us to fight back against this ridiculous nonsense that's going on. And there are other things that we will be able to do to help ourselves here in Rockdale County. This October, the Rockdale Voter will be starting a petition where we're going to be going door to door. We'll be at events, and we're going to be collecting over 6,500 signatures, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take over 6,500 signatures. In 2020, through the help of Representatives Dale Rutledge and Senator Brian Strickland, we were able to pass legislation. We were not able to pass local legislation because at the time, supposed Democrat turned Republican Vernon Jones held this legislation hostage in the local delegation and would not let this legislation go forward on the local level. So this is an individual who claims to be a patriot, claims to be America first, Georgia first. But when he represented Rockdale County in the state legislature and had an opportunity to behave as a conservative and help by lowering taxes, he fought this legislation. He fought the House Bill 1102, which is now a law, which is the Rockdale County Homestead Revised Exemption Act of 2020. This legislation was passed in spite of Vernon Jones's resistance. And this is one of the reasons I could never support Vernon Jones when he was running for governor and Congress. We dodged a bullet with that character. And I hope he's out of politics for good, and Republicans don't need to embrace him because he is not a Republican. And he had his chance to prove himself as a Republican in that 2020 session and to have done the right thing by Rockdale County citizens, and he did not. So we got this legislation passed, and it's the Rockdale County Revised Homestead Exemption Act of 2020. So what we need to do is now get these 6,500 signatures. We will do that in October once the total number of individuals has been registered for the general election in November. We will file this petition with the Board of Elections, which this is state law already. We get these 6,500 signatures. It is mandated that this piece of legislation gets a place on the ballot. So our goal is to get this on the ballot in 2023, in November of 2023. So we get this piece of legislation on the ballot in November of 23, and it will change Rockdale County's host tax, which we pay a 1% tax in our sales tax that goes to a fund called the host fund, which is used to reduce your property taxes. But the county has been siphoning off of this, and we only get 70% of those funds now allocated for tax reduction. And the county is now siphoned off 30% of them to do Lord knows what with, because they do a really shoddy job of reporting back what they do with these host funds. So this legislation is very, very helpful. It will be very helpful for taxpayers. In 2017, DeKalb County converted their host to an e-host, which is what Rockdale County will be doing with this petition. And they have recognized record tax savings for the citizens of DeKalb County by doing this. In their legislation, they point blank, their legislators said, which some of their legislators represent Rockdale County, said that there's already a mechanism in place for capital expenditure, and it's called the SPLOST. So they themselves said that the county was double dipping by taking their host monies. At the time, DeKalb County had got so greedy, they were taking 50% of the host revenue and only putting 50% back to tax reduction. Well, let me tell you, folks, you all have seen what this Board of Commission does. You've seen the proposed 45% tax increase this year. Do you think that it is beyond this bunch of scoundrels to keep reducing the host percent that will be going to tax reduction? I do not believe so one bit. You give these characters an inch and they will take a country mile. So this host, we have the mechanism in place. We have the state law that has been passed, the Rockdale County Homestead Exemption, Revised Homestead Exemption Act of 2020. We just need the signatures. It'll be on the ballot. We'll approve it. We'll get that legislation. We will get that amended, and we'll start getting the reductions that we deserve. We will go to our legislature and we will ask for this Senior Citizen Homestead Exemption Act, because we want to make sure that senior citizens in Rockdale County can maintain home ownership and independent living. It's what they deserve. They deserve the right to own the piece of property, the golden and twilight years of their lives. Then also there is a third thing that we can do, and it's also something that we will be asking of our legislative delegation. We will be asking the Rockdale County legislative delegation to cap the percent that the BOC, BOE, and City of Conyers can raise property tax. We don't even want to fool with the millage rate nonsense, because that's just a pea and shell game they play. We want to actually cap the percent that they can raise, and that will be significant. So what I would like to see is a 3 to 4% cap per entity. So if you do that, they would not be able to totally across the board, you count all three, raise it above 10%. I would love to see a 3% cap for each one of them. So they would not be able to raise those tax percents by 3% per entity a year. And by doing that, that would force them into fiscal responsibility. It would force them to look, this is what our budget is going to be. We are not going to be able to keep spending and increasing, because what other entity can go to their employer and just write a check from their employer? That's what the Board of Education, and the City of Conyers does. They just go ahead and dip into your check account and they write a check that you might not be able to cash. They write a percent that you're not. Like, how many of you got a 44 or 45% increase? If you live in the City of Conyers, how many of you got a 65% increase? That's what they're asking for, a 65% pay increase through their tax revenues. How many of you got a 65%? You got 5% if best. If your employer gave you a raise, you may have received a 5% increase, maybe 2, 3, probably the average, maybe a 3%, but it tops a 5% increase. We have these entities asking for 45, 11, 9 something. They are asking for increases that are just totally out of control and not realistic. Citizens of Rockdale County, it is time that we stand up, we take a stand, and we say enough is enough. I wasn't intending on talking about this subject tonight, but I just have to. Last week at the SPLOST meeting, these geniuses have decided they're going to make Parker Road a big gigantic park. It's already somewhat of a park. They're going to make a Frisbee disc park and all this nonsense over there. One might say, well, that's great for the community. That's hogwash for the community. We already have close to 20 parks in this county that are underutilized and nobody uses. Nobody goes. We are the second smallest landmass county in the state of Georgia. We've got all these park facilities. No one utilizes these facilities. I've said it many a time. The dog park in South Rockdale, I know the 3 dogs personally that use that facility. This is ridiculous, people. Now, why would they do this? Why would they take the most valuable piece of property in Rockdale County? The county happens to own this most valuable piece of property. Why would they do that? They would do that because it locks that piece of property out of contention forever for doing anything practical with it. You would not build administrative offices or any county facility there. You would not be able to build a business there or true economic development. When we talk about economic development, that particular property would be a great place to begin with economic development. But I have said this, if I've not said it a dozen times, we have a group of individuals who are running this county who wouldn't know economic development if it jumped up and bit them in the ass. And that is just the facts. These individuals are they are economically illiterate. They have no idea what they're doing and no concept what they're doing. You have one that runs around like Mary Poppins, talking about mental health and this and that, who herself needs some mental health issues dealt with. And you've got another one who's just got disbarred from practicing law in the state of Georgia, and that joins Texas and Washington, D.C. as places she can't practice law. There's rumors in the county she's going to challenge the chairman for the chairman's position in 24, and of course she would. She doesn't have a job. That's a 6-figure salary, so why not do it? And the bad thing about it, as uninformed and disconnected as Rockdale County voters are, I think she has a hell of a chance of winning that race. Then you've got the chairman who tries to slide anybody from Augusta in here with any kind of shady nonsense. We go back to Green Hood nonsense with the garbage. We go back to when the CARES Act money, and they tried to bring some person with an Augusta connection in here to do a little school for county employees, kids, while there was no school going on in Rockdale County during COVID. And the chairman himself has a checkered history with the law. He would never be even considered to be hired as a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. But yet we let this individual be in charge of Rockdale County. And then you've got this supporting cast of clowns that have joined him. This is the clown posse. I seen a thing the other day about a clown hotel. I mean, we just need to put over, instead of the Board of Commission office, that's the clown college. That's where you go to college to learn to be a clown, is at the Board of Commission office. It is where the clown posse resides. That's where they reside. The clown posse resides at 1901 Main Street. That's where they reside. God, we just need to have Clown College right above there. That's what I think we need to do. Because the decisions that these individuals make are totally ridiculous. So let's recap what we need to do in Rockdale County. First thing we need to do, we need to get these petitions signed. We need to spread the word. We need several things. We need the forensic audit. Rockdale voters, the Rockdale Voter has a forensic audit page. Go sign that. Let's help former Chairman Oden get a forensic audit for Rockdale County. Second thing we need to do is we need to get this petition signed to get these legislators to know we want property tax reduction for senior citizens in Rockdale County. That it has to be done, that we need to respect our seniors because we are taxing senior citizens out of home ownership, and we are taxing them out of independent living. Second thing we need to do, October rolls around. We are going to get the 6,500 signatures for this SPLOST, for this host. We're going to get it on the ballot next year, and we are going to get the property tax relief for all citizens of Rockdale County through the revised Host Act. Then we are going to ask our local delegation to cap the amount that these clowns can raise our taxes. We are going to make them have a cap. And trust me, they're going to max the cap out every single time. So that's why we need to have a cap so that these clowns can't go above that cap. And I intend to go this Tuesday to the Board of Commission to speak at the millage rate hearing because we have to. And I encourage everyone, we need to fill that room on Tuesday. We need to fill that room with people that will speak at that millage rate hearing. Because if we don't, the same things just keep going and continuing to go and go and go. We also need more people to sign up for this protest that's going to go outside of the commission office on Tuesday, because that will send a big message. We might be even able to get the media here on Tuesday to cover this. So let's make this happen. Let's get these protesters out there, sign up, get your homemade sign, let this commission know we're watching and we're tired. We're going to take action because we're tired of the clown posse and these clowns doing what they do to us. Enough is enough. We will make a difference in Rockdale County, and we'll make a difference through organizations like the Rockdale Voter and the Voices for Rockdale. And I am sure there are going to be more organizations that will sprout their wings and organize throughout the next year or so. And we will be able to work together. We will be able to do many things because, like I said, our voices, that's what government really is. Government should actually not be anything but an extension of the voice of the people. And it's time that we let these clowns that are in office know that our voices will be heard, they will listen to us, and they will do what we say. And then one day, voters of Rockdale County, maybe you will stand up and vote these clowns out of office. And we'll have people who really will listen, who you won't have to pressure, that you won't have to go and dress down. And then when you dress them down, they're just going to fight back and bicker and be stubborn and disrespect you as a citizen. I've seen them do it before, and they will do it again. But do I care? No. Again, why do I care when we've got a group of individuals that lead us who wouldn't know economic development if it jumped up and bit them in the ass? Folks, I've talked enough tonight. I've got myself fired up, my voice hoarse again. I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to wish each and every one of you a good evening. We will have spoken at the BOC thing on Tuesday. We'll have had a little protest. We will have had a lot more people sign petitions. I'm going to give you a little update on numbers on Wednesday. But we're going to have a midweek report Wednesday, and we're going to talk about what happened at the Board of Commission meeting on Tuesday. We're going to talk about the petition and how those are rolling, what you can do, and we're going to talk about Rockdale County, and that there are us here. We love Rockdale County. We're not going anywhere, and we're not going to let the people who run the BOE, the BOC, and the City of Conyers run us out of our homes. Thank you, everybody. I wish you a great rest of the evening Sunday and a prosperous week this coming week. And I look forward to talking and looking and seeing this audience being enthusiastic again this coming Wednesday. Larry Cox.